I didn't notice until like the second episode or whatever that we did with Chris, or at least maybe he just didn't have his cat with him the first time. But there were like periodically, like in the episodes, I would hear like on his audio track, I'd hear. I'll see. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. Actually, you probably won't, since
I heard like I heard one of the taps,
like this, like that. And I hear it, and I'm like, for a minute, because you can't see anything. But I could see his hands like slightly moving, and I was like, does Chris have like a tick or something? Does he have like a like an OCD or like a something like that? And I was like, what? But then I realized after a while that he's just, every time he has his cat on his lap, he's doing this, like. So I kept having to like, I'd see the little peaks because you'd see him like the little tiny short. So
you knew when he was
spikes,
doing it,
and I'd have to like go in and like,
That's
okay,
funny.
take that out. I'm trying to be aware of like not doxing ourselves. So but even though I'm sure we have, and like if somebody's really diligent, they can find.
Yeah, I mean we're using like full names, or at least I have.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
So it's just like you could find me on. I don't like private any of my social media accounts. I should, but I'm also just like I don't give a shit. I don't know.
Yeah, on the one hand I don't, and like on the one hand it probably doesn't really matter, but somebody can find you if they want to. But anyways. This is a touring thing, is what I'm saying, so I don't think it's like too big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's a Rock the Country. It's a concert for We the People, which has, as of, I don't know, the last however many years, is like one of my trigger phrases. I cannot stand that fucking phrase anymore. So that's one thing. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. But it's got this kind of sick lineup in like ironic, but I don't know. It's a weird mixture of feelings, but it's coming to our hometown, which is just bizarre.
It is.
We come from a land down under, a very tiny. Well, not tiny, not anymore. Obviously, I guess a small town, middle of nowhere kind of thing. People who live like a half hour away be like, "What? I've never heard of that place." But we're getting this sweet lineup, headed by Kid Rock, Nickelback, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Travis Tritt, and then there's more listed. And I guess I just wanted to bring it up because I kind of had this thought as I was collecting myself.
As you were
like,
reeling.
Yeah. That I think that our region, our area is becoming, I feel like we're becoming a little more known than like music, like we have been like when we were younger and stuff, and like that's a little weird, but like we're becoming more known for like all the wrong reasons. Like just,
yes,
I feel like we're gonna be the ones that people point to and be like, oh, look at that hick, racist, bigoted, Republican town.
Yeah.
But what this kind of led me to, which we can go back to that too, but what that kind of led me to was that like I hope that this is true, that I'm just kind of overblowing it, and maybe it's just because this is where we live. Like maybe if we lived in Kansas, in the middle of Kansas, and something along these lines happened, or we were on the news for some reason, we'd be like, oh my God, we're really blowing up. This Northwest Kansas, we're huge, but it's just because we live there,
Right.
I hope that's it. I hope we're I want to remain anonymous if this is what we're going to be known for.
Yeah, we'll like the Wikipedia article will be like notable guests or notable residents, or maybe we won't because we're not like horrific racist pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I thought this was fake when you sent it to the group. Did not.
That's what like everybody I've shown it to said.
Did not think that it was real. Are people in our hometown going to be able to afford this?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you look at like the median income of the people that live there, like tickets. I mean, okay, you got Kid Rock, Nickelback, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and Travis Tritt. I mean, Big and Rich. They had
Big and Rich, yeah.
Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. I mean, that was like their whole deal. Like people will show up for that one song for sure.
Yeah.
Like for like a 3-day music festival with those names, tickets gotta be like $700-800.
No, I'm pretty sure what I saw it was like $140 or something, $150.
So there's Saturday VIP $209.
Oh, okay. That doesn't seem terrible.
There's so many annoying. There's like packages. There's like VIP Plus.
There we go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm seeing. No, I see on the website for our location.
Yeah.
$140 for the weekend for just general admission.
Oh, okay. I guess that's not too bad.
I don't know, for both days, like if plus I was Afro into that music, plus Afro music or Afro Man, yeah. But like if those were the bands I'd be into, I would 100% like that seems like a really good deal for 2 full days of music. It's just I kind of feel bad for Nickelback. I'm like, are they like
they're Canadian? What are they doing?
Right? I'm like, is this their demographic? I feel
I don't
they don't deserve much, but I feel like they deserve more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get like stars and bars from Nickelback, right? Like they are the outlier here. Everyone, because like they're not even country. Everyone else is pretty much country.
They're just like your classic like rock, it's like
they're just like
PG-13 drug, sex, and rock and roll.
Yeah. I want to be a rock star and and
exactly
trash my hotel.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is totally bizarre.
On the website, they're not even on the thing on the little poster, but the Yin Yang Twins are going to be there too, apparently. So there's another outlier. Really weird.
I'm surprised they haven't like turned it into like a whole like music and comedy type thing.
Yeah.
And get like the Hodge twins. Do you know those guys?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good pull.
I'm sorry, or they didn't. They
should be the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma twins.
Yeah. Get their asses. They should. Man, missed opportunity for that Richmond north of Richmond guy.
Oh damn. Yeah.
Like that dude had one of the biggest fall offs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like he put that song out, went on Joe Rogan, and then like just disappeared. And a lot of people were like saying that it was because they offered him millions for record deals, but he didn't want to sell out to a big corporation, so he just didn't do it. And then it's like, okay, well then, all right, bye, I guess.
Yeah, for real. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I'm kind of coming around on it, actually. Maybe that was very based and principled of him, and we don't have to see him anymore. So
yeah, everybody
more people should do exactly what he did.
Yeah, minus making the song in the first place, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, people should just live, I guess. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of ThereWillBeDuds. This is 166. I just do like I like glance at you because I'm like making sure.
Oh yeah.
And I am your co-host TJ, and with me as always,
I am Nick.
And as always, we watched a movie. The for this one we We went for a autumnal vibes movies. This is on Nick's suggestion. We watched When Harry Met Sally from 1989, directed by Rob Reiner. It follows two people over the course of 11, 12 years.
Something like that.
As they meet and then, don't see each other for a few years and then meet, don't see each other for another few years, and then they meet and then they become friends. And kind of skating a potential relationship the whole time. It's classic romantic comedy. Yeah. It is a good, it's like a it's almost, I was like you get Christmas 2 separate times and New Year's 2 separate times, like, but it doesn't really feel like a Christmas movie. So I'm like, it's definitely like it's a Q4 vibes movie.
Yeah, my original idea was like, okay, this episode is going to air somewhere around Thanksgiving, maybe like the day before. So I was like, what's like a movie that maybe captures that vibe a little bit? Because last year we did Nightmare Before Christmas, which literally is like between Halloween and Christmas, which is kind of like perfect because I guess the genre of like Thanksgiving movie is not as prominent as Christmas and Halloween. I mean, they do exist. Mostly, I want to say in like horror movies, like there's like Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving, and like it kind of falls into that realm. So this movie, I think there are some really, really great autumnal scenes. There's like that one where they're like kind of walking through Central Park. I think it's one of the more iconic like kind of images, which with a movie like with this legacy, you could almost argue that any image is like iconic because it's just a very beloved movie where it's like you could probably pull a frame from a random spot and it'll be like instantly identifiable as like, oh yeah, that's from When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, I think part of that it's I feel like there's not a lot of scenes in this movie, and that maybe helps it be a little more memorable in that regards, because it is a lot of just like talking. It's like I was thinking early on, less so as it went on, but like early on I was like, this is like almost like mainstream Before Sunrise sort of
kind of. Yeah,
because it's a lot of it is just the two leads talking to each other, having conversations. There's no other than the whole obvious will they won't they sort of thing are going to get in a romantic comedy. There's not much of a plot to it. It's just kind of he's helping her move, or she's helping him move, or whatever. And, here's them going on a double date with some friends, and then the friends fall in love and whatever. And
it's like early on we know that they're supposed to be together. Like that's like in the chemistry is immediately like prominent, and you're like, okay, so the rest of this movie is basically waiting for that thing to happen.
Yeah.
The Before Sunrise is a good comparison too, just because also like the way that Harry, the two characters are like similar in that way too, where I think even in Before Sunrise, like the Ethan Hawke character is much more like edgy and cynical. I think his outlook on life is more like that. And then Sally is very just like, oh, I don't know, I think things turn out okay. And and it's like Julie Delpy's character, I think, is sort of similar to that. Like she's definitely like the optimist of the two.
Like, but then she still has that that French like cynicism. So it's a little bit more. But yeah, I get what you mean.
I love that there's supposed to be college students like the same age.
Yeah,
Billy Crystal's like 40 years old.
I know. I was like, Meg Ryan, it's believable, but
yeah.
but
like that first shot of Billy Crystal, they just kind of like gave him more like kind of unkempt hair.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, this is a college student. They're supposed to be like roughly the same age.
Yeah. When like I mean, he's got makeup on in that, but it's like before this, you're thinking like what he's played is like God, I can't think of what his name is, but like Princess Bride, he's like the really old guy. But like he's already playing like old characters at this point, and I mean that's just the first scene of the movie, so it's not like a huge deal, but it is still a little funny. I do think he's Billy Crystal just he's one of he's just like likable, he's charming. I did find a little like I would like waver on sometimes finding what he's saying charming and sometimes a little creepy. Like sometimes he's a little too like pointed and direct, and I'm like okay, lay off a little bit. Well, like especially the first time they meet, and she's very like, no, I'm good, like not really engaging with him, but he's like, yeah, but you are, yeah, no, you totally are, and then like eventually it comes to where it is, and like so I found myself kind of like waffling a little bit on how I took him, but I mean like I said, like ultimately Billy Crystal's
he sells
himself
it. Like,
is
like the one thing that's like not making it weird and creepy is Billy Crystal like being charming and funny, and it's like, oh, okay, like literally if anyone else was saying this stuff, it would be like, ew, like call the police.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I kept finding myself as I feel like I do with movies with this sort of air about them, especially like around this time, like 80s and 90s, is I put like boomer resentment, where they're talking about like, oh, I'm single and I just have my apartment in New York City, and
it is like
so nice, and
the huge like open windows, like the massive ceiling, just like that. Yeah, that was at a time, or like shows like Friends or like any of those, like, yeah, like this is my dumpy New York City apartment.
Yeah,
and it's like 2 bedrooms and it's massive, and it's got like the built-in shelves for books in the walls, and it's like, dude, I'll scroll on TikTok and I will see like, hi, I'm a Manhattan real estate agent, and here's our tiny 1-bedroom apartment in New York City. And it's like the size of this room. It has like a stove with a single burner on it, a mini fridge. The bathroom is like a communal bath, like shower and like toilet. It's in a hallway that everyone has to use. You don't even, no washer and dryer unit. And it'll be like, oh, this can be yours for like $3,000 a month.
Yeah. That's basically what I had family that lived in New York, and I helped them move in, and so it was a couple, and one of them worked for, I definitely don't try to obscure other people's personal information, worked for a pretty famous banking business there, and that was basically what they lived in, was just like just one of those
like tiny ass.
Like if
they're you're like living... you're doing like the New York City job,
yeah,
like you're in finance. That's like we watch movies with like Patrick Bateman or like any of those like Wall Street, like, yeah, I work in finance, and it's like they have these magnificent marbled apartments. And it's like, you're doing finance and you're living in like a closet?
Yeah.
That sucks.
And Sally's like a journalist,
Yeah.
It's like the classic, the HGTV, like, I'm a journalist and Harry does whatever.
Political.
Our budget is $10 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I guess thankfully they like don't really dwell on that kind of stuff, so you don't think about it that much. He's like a political consultant and she's a journalist, and they have like a multi-million-dollar like apartment sweet. It's like,
Yeah, that's nothing to like. I'm not like criticizing this movie in particular. I'm just saying that's a thing that's in like every movie from this era. You know, that is just like every time it comes up, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, we're supposed to feel bad for Billy Crystal, like moping in his giant ass empty apartment, reading Misery, like on his like lawn chair that he has set up because he's a man and he doesn't have furniture.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't take a shitload of notes only because like
either.
I've seen this movie like a few times, so I was like, I more or less know most of what's going on. And it's hard to talk about without just being like, and then this iconic scene, and then this iconic scene, because there's like so many. I mean, I think this is a good example of like, we talk about movies that sort of like set the form that a lot of other movies later on will sort of like pull as an inspiration. And usually it's kind of like the Seinfeld effect, where it's like Seinfeld isn't funny, but all of these other things that have been created in the wake of Seinfeld are great. And it's like, you almost have to have this reverence for Seinfeld, even if you might not think it's all that funny or good, because of the things that it spawned from. This is an example where I think like romantic comedies kind of, I mean, they exist, obviously they existed before this movie, but I think this is like one of those instances where this movie like spawned like a genre, popularized it maybe, but also like is just as good when it came out as it is now, personally for me. Like I think this movie like holds up like very well in terms of like its humor. Like this is like the prototypical like how romantic comedies should basically be. Yeah,
definitely for like the like decade and a half following this. It's you can see like the fingerprints of this on like any of them. And yeah, I mean, this is I am a dude. Romantic comedies aren't, you know, it's not my favorite genre, but I have ones that I like. But you know, I would definitely put this like, you know, up there for those. It's like it's definitely like on the higher end or like the better end of them. Like, you know, I feel like my favorites for romantic comedies are, it's weird because it's like, because it's not a genre that I tend to like lean towards necessarily, though I watch them from time to time. I feel like my favorites are like way more subjective than like other genres that I do kind of partake more into. I mean, of course everything's subjective, but like when I think of like what's like my favorite romantic comedy, I'm like maybe Never Been Kissed. But I'm like, is it a better movie than When Harry Met Sally? Probably not. But but that said, I still think that I think this is I don't know what I'm leading towards with this, but like I guess what I'm saying is like it might not be my favorite romantic comedy, but I think it deserves its place in the, you know, the history of the genre.
It's earned its spot.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And I do think that's in large part also because of Nora Ephron, who's like the writer. She had her fingers like on the pulse in that time period. Mostly
Sleepless in Seattle, is that her other one?
Yeah, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail.
Got Mail. Damn. Was Meg Ryan in all three of those?
Is she in Sleepless in Seattle? Yes, she is. Yeah, she's in all three of them.
Damn.
And then Tom Hanks is in Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail. So like, she has an insane life too.
Nora Ephron.
Like, yes, she was married to Bernstein from Woodward and Bernstein.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Squidward and SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So she was married to him, and there's this great anecdote about her that I think Chloe told me, because Chloe likes Nora Ephron quite a bit because she loves these romantic comedy movies.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, what is it? Carl Bernstein, is that his name?
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Apparently he cheated on her, and I think it was a sort of like revenge maneuver, but she basically like ousted Deep Throat. Like, she knew who it was, and like, okay, fine, you're gonna cheat on me, like whatever. This is Deep Throat. This is like the guy.
Wow.
Damn. And then like she was married. Yeah. Who else was she married to?
I don't recognize the other guys. Dan Greenberg and then Nicholas Pileggi.
Yeah, Nicholas Pileggi. He wrote Goodfellas.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah, she just, and then like she was like an intern for like JFK. I don't know. She just has this like sort of Forrest Gumpian life where she like was like just kind of involved in all of these things. I mean, you know, like Watergate is kind of a big deal.
Right.
And then like she made some of these like incredibly iconic romantic comedies.
Wow, wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Just an interesting person.
Yeah. Michael.
And then
too.
Rob
That's
Reiner.
That's a very 90s movie too. She directed that one too. Interesting.
Yeah, she directed a few of them later on.
Oh yeah, she did Sleepless in Seattle. And You've Got Mail. How about that?
Yeah. The poster for the movie Michael I've seen a million times, and it is like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It just like this super airbrushed John Travolta.
That's what I mean. It's ultra 90s, ultra mid 90s movie. Should do like a focus video on that weird like
that's the visual like color palette, like the way that they all looked.
Yeah.
At least When Harry Met Sally, I think it's a pretty looking movie for the most part.
Yeah, no, like so, yeah, all the fall stuff does look nice and everything. Oh, that's funny. Rob Reiner is in Sleepless in Seattle. Sorry, I'm flipping through these. I haven't seen that one. I've seen You've Got Mail too. But, I haven't seen Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle's fun. I've seen a lot of these since I started dating Chloe, and I will say I've developed like a soft spot for romantic comedies where normally I wouldn't like seek these out to watch on my own. Like I wouldn't like, what am I gonna like? I've got a Friday night. What am I gonna put on? You know, probably not gonna be one of these, and still probably wouldn't be one of these. But like we've watched this one, You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle. While You Were Sleeping is another one that I like quite a bit.
That sounds like a horror movie.
It does. I mean, the premise is kind of horrific, where it's like,
Bill Pullman, love that guy.
I do like my Billy Pull.
Yeah.
He like Peter Gallagher is like in a coma or something like that, and she shows up and pretends to be his fiance, and she like gets to know his family, and his family like
this still sounds like a horror movie.
No, I know that's
okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It kind of, you know, the premise is insane.
Okay.
So it's like basically it's like all of these lies keep compounding on each other, and then she has to keep pretending to be like his fiance and know all this stuff about him, and it's like he's a guy that like she sees every day because she works like at a like a ticket booth or whatever in like the Chicago train station or some shit.
Okay, gotcha.
So she like has this crush on him, and then she gets like inundated in his family. I don't know. It does sound like a horror movie, but it's fun, and I like Bill Pullman. But we're talking about When Harry Met Sally. Sorry, all these all these movies have like, I guess When Harry Met Sally is the most grounded. Yeah. All these other ones have like these very out there fantastical elements to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. As they do, it's the ones where like you could easily do one of those like trailer re-edits using footage from a lot of these movies, like not changing what's in them at all, but just change the music in the trailer and like add some like up the contrast and darken the shadows a little bit more, and it turns it into like a suspense photo. But then because I don't know, everything you're telling me about that while you were sleeping movie, like it feels like one of those where it's a romantic comedy because it plays silly music and Sandra Bullock like makes some funny faces, but like if you were one of the other characters in the movie, you're like, she needs to go to jail right now. Like we need to get a restraining order.
Yeah. This is like something a serial killer would do before like murdering everybody before she gets caught.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, exactly. You haven't seen Band of Brothers, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I just bring it up because every single time it goes to like the old people or like the couples like talking about how they met, you know, it does that periodically in the movie. Each episode of Band of Brothers starts with the actual guys that like the show is about, like talking about, you know, like there's the middle episode where like Bastogne where they're talking about the Battle of the Bulge, so then the actual guys talk about it. Talk about basically like what you're gonna see in the episode. And then like it was just so every time that like it would fade from the couples back to the movie, I was expecting like, because that's where the theme song for Band of Brothers comes in, like the high strings and
it just cuts to like war footage and like guys, you know, like running through the streets of like Berlin or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently all of those little vignettes were real stories of real couples, but they were portrayed by actors. So they weren't they weren't the real couples, but I guess Rob Reiner, like, I don't know if he did like a casting call or just like these are like stories that people had told him in person, but I guess all of them are based on like true stories of couples who met each other.
Oh, okay.
And I did like that,
yeah,
but at the end
it
was like
people.
Harry and Sally at the end. Like,
that's a good way to end the movie for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dang, I thought that it was the actual people. Although I think thinking back on it, sometimes some of the couples felt more genuine than others. I do think there was like one in particular where I was like, okay, I don't think that this is a real one. I don't remember which one exactly, but
there was the one where like the guy, they got married and then divorced and then he married 3 other people and then they ended up getting
a little funny. Yeah, I thought maybe for some reason I thought maybe one of the stories is, but I thought one of them was maybe like Rob Reiner's parents or something like that, or like their story.
I don't think so. Rob Reiner's mom is in this.
Okay, maybe that's what. Maybe she was just in it, and I thought
his mom is the lady at the diner that says, "I'll have what she's having."
Oh, is it really? Oh,
that's Rob Reiner's mom. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, like, looking it up, that diner is, like, famous for that, and they have, like, a sign over the booth. Oh, have you been to it?
I just read that it's at, Katz's Deli. I had no idea, but, yeah, I went there.
Yeah. There's, like, a sign above, like, the booth where that happened.
Oh, okay.
Which apparently, I think Meg Ryan wanted to do that, where I think in the original script... I don't even think they were at a diner, but I think they thought it was great to like have that be in like a sort of public setting.
Play. Oh yeah. It wouldn't be nearly the same if it was just like, you know, in their apartment or something like that.
Right. And apparently on the IMDb trivia, I guess during test screenings, during that scene in particular, all of the women in the theater were like laughing, and all of the men in the theater were like sitting very stoic and quiet.
That's funny.
It's like, come on, man, you can't have a little bit of a sense of humor about yourself. Like, come on.
They're like, no, just the whole time they're like, I know, I can tell the difference. Like, this is bullshit. This is dumb. This doesn't make any sense.
Right. But like that line, I'll have what she's having, that's like, I don't know, that's like in that upper echelon of just like very famous, like, it made me think of like, maybe, I don't know, like the ending line of like Sunset Boulevard. Like where he's like, well, nobody's perfect. Like that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Like it just, for some reason it made me think of like one of those just like iconic, like not screwball comedy, but like romantic comedy lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Especially ones like from like a random character. You know, it's probably the most iconic line of the movie, and that is her only line.
Right. You know?
That doesn't happen too often either. I did think I didn't take a note, but I did just remember that the phone call scene I thought was great. I thought that was where they call the like the double phone call or whatever. That the way that was like put together and everything was really, really cool.
Hello.
I'm sorry to call so early.
Are you all right?
No one I know would call at this hour.
I did something terrible.
What did you do?
No one I know would call at this
It's
hour.
so awful.
I need to talk.
What happened?
What's the matter?
Harry came over last
I
night.
went over to Sally's last night.
Because I was upset that Joe was getting married.
And one thing led to another.
And before I knew it, we were kissing.
To make
and
a long
then
story short, we did it.
They did it.
But apparently that scene took 61 takes to
phone
get
call.
right. Yeah. Because they
Not
filmed
surprising.
it. So I was looking it up, and like the way that they filmed it was that they had 3 separate sets for Harry, Sally, and then Carrie Fisher and
Bruno
Jess.
Kirby,
who was in The Godfather Part 2. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, we saw him in something recently too. I don't remember what, but
They took his mustache off in Godfather, so I just like I don't know who that guy is. But I guess the phones were actually connected to each other, so like they could hear each other on the phones, and basically they had 3 different sets filming simultaneously, and they were like, you had to nail it because there's no cutaways. They did it in one take, so it was like you have to get it. And apparently on like take 54, they even like the hanging up had to be nailed perfectly, where like click, 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 you know. And like they got to that point where they all hung up the phones, and then Bruno Kirby forgot his last line at the end of the scene. And so they had to do it again.
oh man, what was his last line? I don't remember.
I don't know either. Like I feel like it's just like something like he hangs up the phone and he says something just like, you know, oh well, they finally did it, or there's just I think I don't think it's like a super consequential line, but he's still like he probably was like, ah shit, I forgot the line, and then kind of killed the take.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that is the way to do it, because otherwise you could do it separately where you just do Billy Crystal, you just do, you know, Meg Ryan, you just do the 2 in the bed. Yeah, I don't know. But then you've just got it. The annoying thing then is like, you know, maybe Billy Crystal's good take is take 13, but then Meg Ryan's good take is take 17. And like, yeah, so that probably is the way to do it, because then you've got to find the right ones where the timing is all good. But yeah, that's crazy. But, you know, cool they pulled it off, because that was like the coolest part of the movie, I thought.
Carrie Fisher was fun in this. I liked that every time they brought up like the married guy that she was like trying to get with or was seeing on the side, they were like, he's never gonna divorce her, and she's like, I know this, I should know this, like the motif of that, like every single time he's brought up. I just liked her as like a supplementary character. It's
Yeah.
nice to see Carrie Fisher in, I guess, non-Star Wars things. Like, she's so iconic as Leia that it's almost like you see her somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, this feels wrong.
Yeah.
You don't belong here. This is, you know.
Yeah, right. It's not like, I mean, Harrison Ford's like the only one that kind of escaped that, like,
True, yeah.
pull. Not that, like, Mark Hamill's had a very successful career outside of, like, a lot of voice acting and stuff.
Right.
But I still think anytime he's physically in something, you're still like, it's Luke
That's
Skywalker. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, with Harrison Ford, it's either Han Solo,
Indy.
Indiana Jones, Deckard from Blade Runner,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Jack
That's-
Ryan. He played him in a couple.
Oh, really?
Because I think
Okay.
he's him in both, at least Clear and Present Danger and Air Force One. I don't know if he's in another one of those, but yeah. That's not
pretty
as
crazy.
recognizable as those other ones. But yeah, he's had a lot of, big roles under his belt. Yeah, I liked her little Rolodex of dudes.
Yeah.
Too.
That scene
was
made me
funny.
think of, like, I Think You Should Leave, when they're sitting at the table together, like, talking about the various, like, guys that they're seeing or whatever. And it made me think, I think it's in season 1 of I Think You Should Leave, where they're, like, Instagramming their food.
Yeah,
and
that's the
doing,
first
like, kind
episode.
of
Yeah.
doing, like, silly captions, and then one of them is just like, eating some hog shit with these bitch faces. And they're like, no, like, be self-deprecating. And
Yeah.
she just, like, keeps upping the ante.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd be good to move on to scores. I feel like we've captured most of it.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just like it's your standard rom-com, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm landing on a 7 with it.
Okay.
I like it. Like I said, I think it's probably like one of the better ones of its genre. It's not my favorite. It's a charming, fun time. I think I could definitely see this being somebody's like favorite one, And yeah, it's good. I like the two leads are great. They got good chemistry and everything. I did find some of Billy Crystal's talk about relationship stuff like was just going right past me. I'm like, oh yeah, come on. But yeah, it's good. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna land on a 9. I think this is like the perfect movie for like this time of year, that like kind of pre-Thanksgiving, post-Halloween, like you're kind of getting into like, it's like teetering on the Christmas season. And like, yeah, there are 2 like Christmases that happen in it, but it's not really the highlight of it. So it's kind of like perfect for that in between season. Yeah, Billy Crystal's dialogue is pretty rough at times. He definitely like yaps a lot in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Bros yapping.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I guess his point is kind of proven at the end of the day, where they can't just be friends, they gotta be, destined lovers or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are great leads. I do like Bruno Kirby and Carrie Fisher as like these like characters on the side. It's very funny. There's a lot of great scenes that are like of comedy. Like, I think the phone call is probably like one of the best like comedy scenes in that. But I love the scene where they're like at the football game and Harry's just talking about this like existential dread and just like, like he's recently been divorced and like his life is spiraling and everything just kind of sucks. But like intermittently, as they're having this conversation, they stand up to do the wave because that's just like a thing that you're doing at a football game. So it's like their conversation is just constantly interrupted by like, which is, I don't know, it's great visual comedy and just, yeah. So yeah, it's a tight 90. The screenplay is great. The characters are great. The cast is great. Add it into the rotation for your fall time viewing, I say.
Yeah, I would say for fall time viewing, it probably get like maybe an 8 for that. It's an 8.
It's a cozy movie. Like the sweater that he's wearing in one of those scenes is like the white sweater. I'm like, I want that sweater. I think it's like the scene where they're like rolling out the carpet in his apartment.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
He's like,
yeah,
he's got like those like faded denim jeans and that white sweater, and I'm like, this is, you know, there are movies about New York City that are like Safdie brothers that are just like disgusting and gross, and then there's movies about New York City that are like this, where it's just like the leaves are changing and you know, there's just coffee shops and bookstores on every corner, and life is good, and you can have a multi-million-dollar apartment as a political consultant, and you get to wear nice sweaters.
And the reality is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Which, another fun Easter egg, Rob Reiner directed Misery, and he's reading it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Was that like right after this or right before it? That's either way, it was probably right in the rear view.
1990, literally his next movie was Misery.
Wow, what a switch. What a change.
Yeah, dude.
He must have been like, at that point he's got to know that he's got that like penned in, so he probably did that on purpose.
Oh yeah.
But also it works for Harry's character too. So it, you know, works that way too. Post, I'm good with talking Dread, and then, you know, if we don't have time for those movies, I just kind of put those in, you know.
Well, let me watch The Substance.
Okay.
In the next couple weeks, and then we could talk about it, because that's like Substance and Honora are like the two movies that are like
I gotta see Honora
top of my list to see right now. So yeah, let's talk some Dread, because like that's, as soon as we get done recording, that's like what I'm gonna go do. Like that's all I've been thinking about. It's going to...
So what did you not get to play it at all today? So are you still like at the point that you're at?
I haven't played any of it today, but after we were kind of chatting about it last night, I did do some more stuff.
Okay.
So yes, we're talking about Metroid Dread. When did that come out? Like
brand
2 years
new
ago?
game. It's hot off the shelves. It was 2021, maybe 2020.
Jeez.
I think 2021. I could be wrong.
Okay. Man, I slept on that for far too long.
Yeah.
So I just beat one of the Emmys, and I got the wave beam.
Okay. Then
So
I think that's the last one. And you got the screw attack, right?
I have screw attack.
Okay. Because like I think you get that right after the experiment. Z.
Yeah. The big old
or whatever.
Yeah.
The big dude.
The only power up I don't have is I don't have the power bomb, which is, it's not optional, is it? Like I have to get it, because I know.
Yeah, you have to get it. Yeah.
Okay, because I think I've gotten like 2 or 3 like upgrade pickups for it, even though I don't actually have the ability.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah, no, that happened to me too. So yeah,
because it's like you can't use this yet, but you got it. So I've definitely got like a few power bomb like upgrades, even though I can't use it just yet.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like what I said, that like it is a power bomb is usually late game, but it's not often like as late game as it is in this. Like it might be the last one that you get.
Yeah,
because I feel like if you have those, you have the wave beam,
Yeah.
It's like power bomb. There might be one other bomb or one other item that you're missing. Did you get I think the only optional one, I don't even know if it is optional, but it's one that's like you don't need is it's like the equivalent of the X-ray visor. It's not called that, but it's the equivalent to that one from Super Metroid. It's the one where I think it's like you go into Morph Ball and then you send out a pulse and it shows you where like all the breakable blocks are or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Is that like you hold a button and it uses like the same stuff that like the Phantom Cloak?
Yeah,
and like
is it Aether or something like that?
Yeah.
Something.
It's an A word for sure.
Yeah.
Because like right now, yeah, I've got like the Phantom Cloak. I've got the one where you can kind of like displace, where like you can like to get through like those sensor doors,
flash shift or whatever.
Yeah, and then I got the
that
one.
One's so cool.
Yeah,
I use that all the fucking time.
Underutilized it. I didn't use it.
Oh my god, I used it all the time.
Well, I think I was doing like one of the boss fights, and then I was like, let's try this out. And then I'm like, oh, that actually kind of helps during some of these fights, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you might want to get used to using it before you get to the last boss. I don't know if it's a necessity, but you use it a lot.
Great. Yeah, because like speaking of bosses, I've never played a Souls game, and I feel like that is just like the sort of catch-all for any game that's like difficult. Like, oh man, that's like
that
Dark
or
Souls.
roguelike. Like I said, like that's the other Souls-like, roguelike. Yeah,
but the like the learning curve and the difficulty curve in this game can feel steep, I think, at times. And then it's just you feel like you're kind of hitting your head on the wall trying to figure out what to do. And then like I feel like the genius of this game is like with every boss fight there will be a moment where it clicks. And like you figure out the pattern, or you see, oh, okay, the enemy is doing this thing, and when they're done with this thing, I can move here and set myself up for the next attack.
Yeah.
And it's like this beautiful dance of like learning the enemy's movements. It's kind of like a bullet hell a little bit sometimes, but when you finally do crack the code and you like beat the boss, like there were like a few times where like I would do like fist bumps like in the living room to no one because I'm just like, oh
yeah.
It's very, very satisfying.
I think that happened to me a couple times. Yeah, that's why like I referenced Cuphead too, because it's a very the boss fights feel very Cupheady, and that's also like a like bullet hell game. Yeah, I love that this is also, you know, I guess skill based too, but for me I felt like Dread had a like perfect difficulty curve where like it until I mean the last boss fight is tough, but other than that it's like fighting regular guys gets easier, but then they get tougher, but it's like it felt just like a straight line and like an XY graph of like my skill versus like difficulty of the game. It was like always level, and I really liked that. It never felt like it got too difficult or I got too like overpowered or whatever.
Right.
Even when I like replayed it, I would still have to kind of like buckle down for the boss fights. At least it was never like I might be able to like beat him on my first go now, but I still have to like, you know, lock in. I can't just, it's not like a walk in the park necessarily.
It sort of reminded me of Breath of the Wild.
Yep. I almost referenced that. Yeah.
Where, you know, that's kind of how it goes in like these Zelda games where pre Breath of the Wild, I mean, where there's like you just kind of big dick everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because the enemy doesn't really do that much damage to you. Like, even in the beginning of, like, say, Ocarina of Time, like, once you get your sword and shield, like, enemies maybe do, like, half a heart, and they don't really, like, come at you that hard, where it's, like, it's not really, like, difficult fighting, like, normal enemies at all. But with Breath of the Wild, you can't just, like, grab a stick and a shield or whatever and just go headfirst into combat, because you will get your shit rocked a lot.
Yeah.
Like, the way that, like, different, you know, like, the stick versus, like, the rusted sword versus the claymore versus the spear, and, like, your armor and, like, your defense and all that kind of shit all factors in, where it's like it makes you strategize and equip things and think about, like, how am I going to do this fight, rather than, yeah, this is just like any other Zelda game. I can just rush in and, like, start swinging and, like, boom, 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 next area. Dread is very similar in that way, where I feel like in other Metroid games, once you hit a certain level, you can kind of just tank a lot of stuff and just, like, kind of brute force, just, like, missile, shoot a bunch, and I think you'll take some damage, but you're not gonna probably, like, die nearly as much. With Dread, it's like, I got a lot of game over screens. I got a lot of game over screens, and it's like, I'm like, okay, all right, like, regroup, rethink it, try it again, get a little bit further. Okay, here's a new phase of the boss fight, and I'm dead. Okay, regroup, rethink. I don't know. It's just like, it works. Like, and also, thank Christ they just put you back outside the room instead of, like, the last save spot.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that would be bad. That would be if I had to, like, traverse all the way back to, like, the boss room from wherever. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, yeah, which I feel like has happened in the past. Like, yeah, it's nice that the game, like, accommodates that, or, like, oh man, I remember I forgot, have you ever beaten Prime 2 before?
Yeah.
You have? Okay.
Probably like 20 years ago on the GameCube, like at my grandma's house or some shit. But yes, I have beaten Prime 2.
Okay. I mean, I guess Prime 1 in the same, in a similar sense. No, I would say more so Prime 2, because Prime 2, you have to, I think you save and you're, like, more or less right outside the Emperor Ing's, like, boss room.
I remember that part.
But then that fight is so goddamn long. It's so long. That's one of my biggest criticisms with that and the first one, is those last fights are so fucking long, because you just have to wait for their, like, attack animations to go through, because it's not like, you know, think like how Metroid Dread is. It's like you can basically attack them. There's some that have, like, invincibility windows or whatever, but I feel like most of the bosses, you can, as long as you can hit them, you can go for them at any point. But in that, like, that era, or, like, older ones, or, like, you know, the Zelda games are notorious for this too. You have to wait for, you know, they go through their whole rigmarole. Yeah, like, you know, I'm trying to think of, you know, Phantom Ganon. You got to wait for him to go in the portrait, and then come out the other one.
Yeah.
And he's gotta wait there for a second, and then for you to, like, shoot him with the bow.
And then sometimes he'll fake you out.
Yeah. But then you beat the Emperor Ing, and then you do the escape sequence, and then you have to fight Dark Samus. And if you lose, you have to do the whole thing over again.
Oh.
And the boss fights in Dread are like, they feel meaty and, like, lengthy, but they're nothing like those ones. And also, it's just like, boom, you're right back in it when you die, and it's so quick to restart.
Same with, like, the Emmy areas, because I want to say between, like, the various, like, mini bosses and bosses and, like, the Emmys, I think I have more game overs to Emmys than, like, anything else, because, again, sometimes my impulse will be like, screw it, just run through the area and, like, get there as quickly as possible. And, like, If you get caught, shit, try it again. Like the last Emmy that I just did was one where I died a lot too. It was the one in the water. Like it was partially submerged.
Oh, that's what. But then you get the gravity suit, and it makes it
Thank
easier.
Christ for the gravity suit,
Yeah.
man. Traversing through water without it was like such a chore.
Yeah.
Ugh. And
Yeah.
I think maybe the reason that I had such like a visceral reaction to not having the gravity suit in water is that it like slowed down the pace of the game, which like the pace of the game I feel like is pretty breakneck.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I didn't like totally hate it, but I'm like, I'm moving slow. This
No,
sucks.
it's always the worst fucking part in any of those games is like the water areas before you get the gravity suit, which is why that
Yeah.
like is always like the best fucking upgrade to get because I fucking hate moving through the water areas without it. So you also got the, I want to say if you have the wave beam, did you get the cross bomb?
No.
No, I thought you got that before that. Okay. I think you only have 2 items left then if you don't have the cross bomb, if that doesn't sound familiar. Or maybe that one might be optional, actually. Because I feel like at that point in the game...
Is that the morph ball bomb that does like multiple spots in a row?
Maybe.
I
forget if there's
there
another
was there was a like an energy tank or a missile expansion that I'm pretty sure I need to like do a morph, like I got to do like a shine spark morph ball, but like I need to like go to the morph ball, break 2 blocks, and then keep going to get to the area where I need to shine spark. And you can't break the 2 morph ball blocks fast enough to like maintain the shine. And so I like sometimes if I can't figure out how to do like an energy tank or a missile expansion, I'll just I'll look it up just to see like if I'm like even remotely close. And I'm pretty sure for the one that I was thinking of, he had this thing where it's like you go into the morph ball and it does like whew, and it gets
I think that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay,
I
so you
don't have
that
that
one.
yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I thought you would get that one already, but so it might be optional.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
because there's still a few areas that I haven't like fully explored yet. Like there's still some like ice areas that like I couldn't go to previously until I got the gravity suit. Maybe one of my critiques of this is like the map is sometimes like really big, and like I feel like that kind of is like a pace killer for me, where it's just like, okay, I need to get here. How do I get here? And I have to like zoom in on the map and kind of like draw out my path, but then it'll be like, oh, there's like this block and it's like inaccessible, or like there'll be one of those doors where it's like you need to do something on the other side in order to get it to open, and it's actually just like completely blocked off. That stuff I guess I found kind of irritating. Like I was like, how do I get to like Frenia or whatever? And it's like, oh, I gotta go here, and then I gotta go up here, and then I gotta go through here, and then I gotta get the shuttle, and then I've gotta go in the elevator. I think and I think with Metroid games, like that amount of backtracking is like a sort of like necessity that's always gonna be like like kind of like how the game works, because you gain abilities that allow you to get access to other spots.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I do think it does a pretty good job of like you just got this upgrade, you have to backtrack, but look at all this new shit you can do because you got the upgrade, and now you have to backtrack. But hey, there's screw attack blocks here. You haven't done those yet, so there you go.
Yeah,
like I
right.
do think it does a pretty good job of like rewarding the backtrack a little bit by being like, here's all this other stuff you can do now.
Yeah, I think and the nice thing is that like the more you play, it's like the faster you can move through areas too. The faster and faster. I don't know. I'm sure I'd have to like I do agree. Like I wish the map was a little better. It's a little lacking to me. I hate that that you like like in the old ones, it's like you go into a, you see the map and it's like it's like dim, but then you go into a room and it lights up. So then you've been in that room, right? But in this one, it's like, if a room is like a rectangle and it's like tall and you walk through it, it's like just the bottom part's lit up. But then if you jump it, you know what I mean?
There are rooms that I have like filled in on the map by jumping and screwing attack to like fill out the entire color of the quadrant because it'll bug me.
Yeah, no, me too. I only did it the first time I played because it's like, even as I was doing it, I was aware of how like insanely OCD it was. But I did that for the entire map. I filled out the entire thing. Since then, it's not
100% complete if I don't fill out the entire map.
It's more just like, I hate fucking looking at these rooms and just seeing like...
Have I been in here before? Or like you can see the arc of you jumping and that's like the only...
It's like, come on, and you see like one little square that's dim because you were like a little too high or a little too low or whatever. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
definitely filled in some rooms like that, like a save room. I'll go in and I'll be like, I'll just go boing, 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 boing to fill out all of the space in it.
Yeah. But I will say, I've went through. So this is how I play Metroid games. Because like, I mean, the first playthrough is a little different. Well, no, not really, because I think the first time I played through this one, I did the same thing, which is I basically play them 2 or 3 times in a row. I just have done that the last few times. Like even with the Prime remaster, I think I played through that at least twice, if not 3 times in a row. And it's like the first time back, I just kind of play it and I'm just kind of like reacclimating myself to like the map and the system and stuff. And then like the other playthroughs, I'm like, I'm going fast, I'm going hard or whatever. Like the most recent one I finally did the first playthrough was just normal playthrough the first time I played it, and then I did hard mode, and then I might have played it one more time, and then I played it again like last year, and I think I did normal mode, and I did it under 3 hours or 4 hours, whatever the lowest threshold is. And then I did that with the hard mode. So I beat them both under 4 hours. But I'm pretty sure I had to do it twice with hard mode, because I think the first time I was like at 4.5 hours. So I had to retry. But it's great. That's what I love about those games, is because like if you really wanted to, except the first one, fuck the first game. I absolutely fuck the first game. You could basically get through the main series in the time that it takes to play like one other like modern game. And I kind of
true.
I kind of like love the series for that, because I like that, and I think that's why I like replay them so often when I play them. It's because it's like, man, like I'm really only like more. This is like once you've played them and once you kind of know them, it's like this is like one sitting. Basically, I could sit down and I could beat Metroid Dread in like an afternoon. But then but I love it, so I want to play it more. So then I'm like, all right, restart. I haven't quite built up to doing. I'm interested in doing the Dread mode.
Is that like if you die, you like
no,
it restarts?
No. It's not. Not
that
quite. That would be impossible. No, that would be absolutely impossible. Slightly less impossible, but I think still impossible, is it's one hit. The entire game, you're one hit. Yeah.
Oh.
And I think all the enemies have like the same like toughness, the same health as like hard mode. But it's the one hit thing. There's certain bosses in particular where I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I think literally, like I don't think I could beat certain bosses without getting hit at least once.
Or like any of those fights where it's like 2 of the Chozo soldiers kind of like double teaming you. That shit's hard.
Yeah.
Cuz like I did have that thought though once I like learned like the pattern of a fight. Mm-hmm. I was like, I can see how if you really like dial in, you could do this without getting hit. If you can like but you have to like execute everything perfectly. Because I'm thinking of like the boss that I just fought. It's like the ZD whatever 57 or whatever. Because I was like, how do I avoid? Because he does kind of like the breath, like the almost like Godzilla's laser breath. Like he'll like kind of spit it out and it'll go kind of at an angle. And I'm like, I keep getting hit by this. How do I avoid it? And then I noticed there's like this big of a patch where the breath stops and then it starts again on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's like you have like a split second to jump into that spot and then the laser breath goes past you. So like once I'm like, I figured that out. I'm like, okay, that's how I avoid that move. And then like, oh, what was the other thing? There's like another move that I couldn't avoid. And then I held down like the missile and it's like, he's got his 4 claws, claw head. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I use the rockets or the
storm
missiles,
missile or whatever, right?
and like once I did that, I'm like, I'm a genius for figuring. So like I can see how you could do it, but man, it's like, you know, watching like a speedrunner play like one of the Resident Evil games. Like there's I think his name is Carcinogen. He's like a Resident Evil 7, 8, 2 remake speedrunner, but he'll do Resident Evil like hardest hardcore mode and he will take no damage. And he'll do runs of that. And it's like you have to like know every little detail about everything. Like you have to know which zombies to run by, which zombies will like have like a RNG of like doing like a get up attack, which can end your run if you're playing by those parameters. So it's like there's just so many things you have to factor in to think about. And it's like with Dread, it's like learning all of the boss patterns and then being able to execute them flawlessly, like in a run.
I would have to, if I were to ever attempt that, I would have to do all of the instant kill skips as possible. There's no way, because like the one that I'm thinking of in particular that I think would be the hardest to avoid any hits on, which thankfully does have an instant kill, is the SQ. It's like the bug that like darts around in Gavarin, the like jungle area. That might be the one that you get the storm missiles. Like that's what it unlocks. Maybe you remember what it's like? It's like electrically charged, I think, and he like zips around and then he like shoots like cluster stuff at you. And God, he's so fucking hard to hit. But if you and I will say this isn't like an instant kill in the sense that the other ones are, but it's basically. So what you have to do is you have to sequence break and you have to get the screw attack before you fight him. And that because he is vulnerable to screw attack. So as soon as he comes in, screw attack him and he dies in like 5 seconds.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So is there, because you said all of the bosses have like a way to like.
No, not all the bosses. There's just a few. I mean, as far as I know, there maybe there are for other ones. Hey. The other one's the experiment. That one, that's the only one I know of that you don't have to do a sequence break for. You can do that just playing normally. And that's when he goes to one side of the room and he does that, the thing where it's like you're kind of like running against the wind or whatever, and then there's like the waves of stuff and you have to kind of like jump over it. You know what I'm talking about? Well, when you run long enough, you build up your speed booster, and if you can do it, and the problem is I can't fucking do it without getting hit by at least one of those things, so it restarts it. But if you build up a speed booster, he holds his head there for a second when he's done, and then you shine spark into his head, and it's an instant kill.
Damn. Okay. Interesting.
And then the Kraid one is another one where you have to sequence break. You have to get the bombs before you fight Kraid. And when you get down like by his belly, there's a little to the left, there's one of those the bomb tracks, like the things where you like plant a bomb and then it like shoots you. You know what I mean? You use that to like get around the map. Well, this one, it shoots you directly into his stomach, and then you just bomb him from the inside. So that one, it's cool. That one has like, that one's there. Like it's there for you.
Like
There's
if you
a
do
specific
this out of order, like
so it's cool that the game is like actively encouraging and like advertising it, because I'm pretty sure there's like a unique death animation for that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's like a unique death animation if you do it that way.
Interesting. If they did like achievements on the Switch, like they do with like Steam,
that would be nice.
It'd be interesting to see like, you know, kill Kraid from the inside out, and then it's like, you know, 1.2% of players have, you know, shit like that.
Yeah.
To like kind of reward you for like doing these out of sequence, but like intended by the devs kind of things, you know.
I actually really like doing, once I learned how to do it, I really like doing the sequence break for getting the bombs early. Some of them are just really fun to pull off. Because that one, you have to, it's in a lava filled room too, so I remember like if you fail, you get like one or two retries maybe.
Okay.
Because you have to do a slide out into nothing, so you're over the lava, and then like when you're coming out of the slide, you jump back and there's a wall, and then you wall jump off that into like a morph ball tunnel, and then that gets you like a shortcut back to Arteria. I think that's it. I could be misremembering, but it's really, some of them are really fun to do. Some of them aren't as much. There's this one where like the one to skip the squid guy in Berenia that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
That's one. You have to do this for that guy and to get the screw attack early before the SQ guy. It's a pseudo wave beam. So wave beams go through anything, right? They go through walls or whatever. And, you know, there's those little like tumors that sit in the wall, and then you like shoot them and they kind of like blow up in the thing. So on the one side of the squid guy, like if you can take like another door, and then you go to like where you would go after you fight him, but you're like on the other side, and on the other side of the wall is one of those little tumor things, but you can't shoot it. But what you do is you like, it's a very particular way to do it. You have to like slide into the wall, turn around, turn back, and this is like before any of these animations finish. So you have to be like, it's weird training your brain to like do this stuff not in time, because you kind of think like, oh well, I have to the game has to finish the animation of what my previous like input was, and you shoot, like when you do that, the game, you like partially clip into the wall, so that when you shoot, you're in the wall, so you can hit the little tumor thing on the other side of the wall. So that's why it's called a pseudo wave beam.
Yeah. Because like I know one of the beam power ups is like you can. It's not like a wave beam, but like it'll kind of like penetrate a little bit.
The diffusion beam.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So it kind of.
It's like this is like Super Smash Bros. Melee tech.
Yeah.
Like you're like almost like wave canceling, and like
kind of
you're doing like. You're canceling these animations to kind of like clip out of bounds a little bit.
That's it. That's exactly, that is exactly like what it is. Which also, I think the games are great playing them normally too, but that does also add to my love for the games is breaking them, and you know.
Yeah.
I do that like Super Metroid is like the one that I think is the most free with that. I don't know if there's much you can do with Fusion, because it is pretty, the way that it's structured is a bit more like linear. It's harder to sequence break, but I think it's possible to in some cases.
I do like the connection that this game has with Fusion.
Yeah.
Where you've got Adam, the robot that you kind of talk to. I feel like at one point your suit kind of even looks like the Fusion suit. Like it's got like that sort of like yellow and red and like cyan color to it. I feel like at one point, because like with every power up, the suit kind of changes a little bit. Like once you get the Viriah suit and then the gravity suit.
Yeah.
Because I
It's
think
got the
Samus
standard
starts.
Starts and
Yeah,
it's blue,
yeah.
which is a little different. I guess that's kind of like the fusion suit because that was blue.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little like sleeker. It doesn't feel as like bulky as
Yeah. There's like
as it does. in other ones.
I was trying to remember to bring this up when we talked about it. I feel like Samus's suit also has like these muscular, sinewy like
Yeah.
elements to it where it almost feels more organic than like a robot suit, you know?
Mhm.
Like it's like she has like neck muscles and like
Yeah, no, I know
connective
what you
tissue
mean.
with
Yeah.
like her arms and stuff.
That's so. I think that's probably kind of like a remnant from the fusion stuff too, because the fusion suit was like skin tight,
Kinda
almost
skin
like
tight,
almost
yeah.
like spandex. It kind of seemed like.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, before you like kind of power it up.
Yeah. Man, you gotta. There's some cool stuff with like the story, like at the very end too.
Okay.
The ending is pretty sweet. I think.
Is it?
Oh, go ahead.
Is it? Oh, because I was like, is it kind of like Fusion where like you can't be sure if you trust Adam or not? Is Adam like?
Well, so I mean, yeah, not just that, but I mean, like, there's a few different things, like with the. Yeah, I don't want to say anything, but I think the game has like hinted at something going on with Samus already.
Okay.
And maybe puts the title of the series in a different light or something. But yeah, it's really cool. And I think I love Samus in that game too. Like she's such a fucking badass. Like all the like sweet like when just any of those cool like like parry animations that you get during boss fights are really cool, and then just like her attitude in various cutscenes is so
when
good.
So the parry element I think has been like a very difficult thing for me to get into to get the timing down sometimes. Like I know there's like that sort of like little visual cue where it's like ding and then you parry and then like you can basically get a one-hit kill if you nail the parry. But yeah, during some of those like Chozo soldier fights near the end you pretty much have to get the parry to finish the fight.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Or else they keep hitting you, because like that happened to me a couple times and I'm like, why is this fight not ending? Like I keep doing this and then I'm like, oh, I have to nail these parries.
Yeah.
But like once you nail it, like I think you have to like parry his spear and then parry again. And
yes,
then
that sounds right. Yeah.
for the killing animation, you like grab his face,
Yeah.
stuff your gun in his mouth and like kill him. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I feel like there was like another boss fight where this one was less interactive. Like the boss fight was essentially done, but it's like the boss is like kind of laying on the ground writhing and you can just see Samus walking in the background just like with her gun up, like just like walking and just like very casually like
Yeah.
and I'm like, ooh, there's like some attitude here. There's like some spunk.
Yeah. Or like when you face Kraid and like he kind of comes out of the mist or whatever, like right in her face, but then he's like caught by the chains and she doesn't like flinch. She just like staring at him. It's just cool.
Yep.
She's cool. It's also
Does Ridley show up?
I mean, do you want me to answer?
You don't have
it?
to tell me. You don't have to tell me. But there haven't been any Ridley hints. There hasn't been any sort of like, you know, usually there's like some sort of like, you see a big shadow flying over and it's like, oh, that's shaped like Ridley. Because it's like, is it a proper Metroid game if Ridley doesn't show up at least once?
He's not in a Prime 2, so yeah. I think, yeah.
Oh yeah. Not even Meta Ridley? I guess
No.
I don't remember that game well enough.
He's not in it at all.
Okay.
He comes back for Corruption. Yeah, he's in most of them. He's not in Metroid 2. He's not in Echoes. That might be it. unless you count like Federation Force.
Yeah.
I guess I mean like I think it's just cool. Like I mean like stuff that you have gotten to, obviously. And like it's obvious because it's a direct sequel to Fusion, but I think it's because like Fusion was the one that got me into the series. It's one of my favorite games, and every game since then has been like a spin-off or remake or takes place before that. That like when you get to Alun, I think, and then the X parasites are there and you like release them. I'm like, oh, the X parasites.
Yeah.
Cool. It's just cool seeing them like back, and then when you beat the bosses, they mutate into the X core. I'm like, oh my god. That's kind of what I mean with like the cool like, you know, Fusion tie-ins where it's like, obviously, yeah, it's a sequel, so it would make sense that these things are gonna show up again. It's just I was kind of used to them being a one-off enemy because there has been no game that takes place after Fusion until this one. And I think that like whole sequence is cool where you go there and it's like, you know, you don't really know like what's going on, and then you release them and you just doom the planet basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I think there's like a line of dialogue from Adam where he's just like, it's safe to say that every living creature has been assimilated by the X.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like there's no original organic mass. It's all just like a clone of a parasite mimicking it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to, you know, touch base again once you finish up.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I could keep talking about those games for fucking hours, so obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say once you said like the dread mode where it's just one hit, I was like, oh, okay, because I was gonna say there should be another hard mode that's in all of these games that's just called like Metroid 1 mode, where every time you die,
you have to enter a password,
no matter how many or a password, yeah.
Oh,
no matter how many energy tanks you have, you only have 30 health.
Ugh.
And like no missiles. So you just have to grind enemies repeatedly to like build up your energy tanks.
Yeah,
and
that'd be
shit.
great. It sounds like an awesome game mechanic. Sounds sick. It sounds like one that wouldn't actively encourage save scumming.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, not to get too much into it too, but the back to the dread mode thing, that like I think what turned me off of not even attempting it is realizing how many times I would like bump into some like electrical thing or like fire thing, and I'm like, oh, that would be a game over. I'm like, I just do that so much because it's like, oh yeah, it's like 10 points of damage, whatever. But it would make the game so tedious.
Oh, the guys that the enemies that like piss me off the most are in the Emmy rooms, like the little red guys that are like on the floor, and then it's like they pop up, and then they basically start a little timer and then explode.
Yeah.
And that basically like kind of alerts the Emmy to like the area that you're in, because it's like it's an explosion. So it kind of like signals to it. But like the number of times that I've been like focused on trying to like break a wall down, or like sometimes in like the Emmy rooms, it's like you need to use the grapple beam to like open the door, or it's got like the 3 little lines and you have to use like a fully charged shot to open the door. And like I'll get to the platform, and like as soon as I'm ready to take the shot, one of those little dickheads pops up and blows up in my face and like knocks me off the platform.
Yeah.
Like makes me so mad. I hate those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, game over. That would be a game over.
Yeah. Even just the little scuddler guys, I don't know.
Yeah.
They always have such like fun names for the guys in that. Like one of them is Zoomers. I know that. There's like Zoomers.
Yeah, that's in the OG Metroid, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's just little spiky guys that can just like scuttle along. That's like the only one I can remember. It's like Gooners.
Zoomers and Gooners.
Boomers. Yeah, I don't know.
And then Doomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to let you borrow the deluxe book that I have for this thing, because it's full of artwork and like
Oh.
shit.
Oh yeah,
Have you ever seen that?
Did you? Yeah. Did you like do like the pre-order or something for it?
I didn't pre-order it, but let's just say we have a mutual friend who likes to pre-order a lot of copies of things and then sell them.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Which, in retrospect, I'm glad I bought because, like, 3 years later, I love the game.
Yeah.
But 3 years ago, I was like, I should probably just have this game at some point.
Yeah.
In time, and then
Right.
finally getting around to it.
No, I haven't, but yeah, that'd be cool to
Yeah.
look at for sure.
I've like looked at it, and I think it has a lot of art from like the original games too. Like it kind of does an anthology where it's like Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, like Fusion, whatever. Like your standard like Metroidvania style games at least.
Yeah, that's cool. So, next week's movie is a normal one in between the holidays. Because part of me is like, it would be kind of fun to do, like, just continue the thread of like that we basically start with like Halloween, and it's just like, you know, holiday to holiday to holiday.
Basically holidays up until New Year's, and then we're like back on our normal schedule.
Yeah.
But I like the randomness of cup pulls too much.
Yeah. Yeah, me too,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. IX2 came out, and I'm trying to decide which one is more like fitting or anti-fitting for in between the holidays.
Okay.
Because they're both not like, they both don't super fit. Do you want to go like just not fitting or like really not fitting?
Let's do really not fitting.
Okay. All right. Then we're gonna do, well, hey, this will fit in with our Halloween theme at least because it's a Japanese movie.
Okay, good.
It's another Takashi Miike movie from 2001, The Happiness of the Katakuris.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. I don't remember why I added it in, but it sounds like a very Takashi Miike picture.
I'm looking at some pictures. This is pretty weird looking.
Sweet. Cool. That's be an interesting one. I don't really know much about it.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right. So that's it. If you don't want to be spoiled for The Happiness of the Katakuris, watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, I can tell the difference. I know. And with me as always.
As always. I mean, I gotta say it, right? I'll have what she's having.
Oh yeah.
And I am Nick. Let's do a wave. Let's do a.
Oh yeah. We'll do a.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, get me out of here. He says that sucked. Oh, he's cleaning himself now.
Yeah.